Shalom everyone, Shavua Tov. We are now in Parashat Shlah Lekha, a tough parasha, a tough story. What's in it for us? So the story goes about here, just the time. There was the Exodus. Last week we read about celebrating Pesach, a year after getting out of Egypt. Pesach was on Nisan, Iyar, Sivan. Our story starts on the new moon of Tammuz, the fourth month after Passover. Okay, so that's the beginning of the summer, as we read in the Parasha, and it says we are in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, verse 1. It says, and God spoke to Moses, saying, Shlah Lekha, send for you anashim, people, vayaturu et eretz Canaan. Vayaturu means, and they will be sent to tour. It's the same verb in Hebrew and in English. To tour the land. It's a Hebrew word, to tour. Okay? What is a tour? To tourist. Right? Why tourist? We know those people as the 12 spies. Why calling them as tourists? I was thinking about it for many years. And I realized it. It's very simple. Before we go to the land of Canaan, the promised land, Asher ani noten livnei Israel, that I'm giving the children of Israel, ish echad lamate avotav tishlachu kol nasi bahem. Send a person for every tribe. Okay? What does it mean? The head of the tribes. So who are the head of the tribes? We are talking, this is not politicians we're talking about. They were not voted into office by primaries and stuff like this. They didn't have any campaigns. They came over there because they were the best, most positive and spiritual people in the nation, which means each one of them was the leader. Can you imagine being a leader of the children of Israel? You know when? When Moses is the top leader. Now, do you understand what does it mean? No games. Moses can see through you. No games. No, this is not easy, right? Okay. So, because we know it's not easy, they have to be really special people. So they are the top, la crème de la crème. And they're being sent over to the land of Canaan in order to be, just think about it, few centuries away from the Holy Land. Listening, hearing the stories from your parents, grandparents about the promised land. One day, God is going to deliver us, and they are going to be the first people to step their foot on the holy ground. It looks like a prize. You know, tourists go somewhere to have fun, right? It's not a job. They go to have fun. So these are the chosen few, chosen to feel the country first. But why does it say, and God said to Moses, Shlah Lekha, send for yourself. Why is this send for yourself? Why do you have to send those great people in the first place? Okay? So here we have the names of those people. And then again on verse 17, it says, Vayishlach Moshe latur et eretz Canaan, and Moses sent them to tour the country. This is the verb, the Hebrew word latur. Vayomer aleim alu ze banegev alitem el har, and then he asked them some weird questions. Okay? What are the questions? Uritem et haaretz. So go in the land and see the land. Mahi. What kind of a land is it? Ve'am hayoshev alea chazak or rafeh. So, okay, before the conquest, you have to know some details. But then, are there many, little few of them? But we have some reservations about Moses' request. Ma haaretz asher hi hu yoshev ba tova im ra? Is it a good land? Bad land? Me'arim asher yoshev bahena? What kind of cities? Fortified, not fortified? Is the land fat or skinny, lean? That's verse 20. And then he goes into, is there a tree in the land or isn't? Or ayin? Ve'itchazaktem, you should get strong, and then you should take from the fruits of the land. And the days were the days of the first crops of the grapes. We know that the land of Canaan was full of grapes even today. Vayalu vayatu, still they go to tour the country, although tour could be also scouting, but the word tourist is coming from there. Still, it doesn't have the burden. It doesn't say spies anywhere. So they came to the Negev, and all the way they take the fruits. Everybody knows that picture of two men carrying that rod, and a whole cluster of huge grapes are hanging over there. Not normal grapes, right? Because why do you need two people to carry one cluster of grapes? Okay. And then they come back after 40 days, which means they left on the new moon of the month of Tammuz, sign of Cancer. They came back, we know, on the 9th day of Av. The 9th day of Av, the 9th day of the month of Leo. So what in it for us, this story? And as they come back, they divide into two groups, 2 men and 10 men. And the 10 are saying, this is a land of milk and honey. You know this verse. Milk and honey. Ephes. However, Ki az ha'am hayoshev ba'aretz, but the nation living in that country, they are very powerful. Powerful? What are you talking about, powerful? Just a little bit of history. History. Thank God we have archaeology today. What do we know? We know from modern archaeology that the Canaanites were slaves of the Egyptians. What did we do just a year ago? We beat up, knockout the Egyptians, right? 10 plagues, knockout. They tried to chase after us. They drowned on the Red Sea. Nothing left of them. We took one of the biggest empires on the planet, brought there to its knees, right? And then what? We know that the Egyptians ruled the land of Canaan. The Canaanites were the slaves of the Egyptians. So if you brought the big master to a knockout, what's your problem with his slaves? Just a year ago, you hit the master. When Joshua is coming to the land, they don't see any Egyptians anymore. But if you go to archaeology, the land of Canaan was ruled by the Egyptians. You find till today, you find the homes of the governors, the Egyptian governors, in the different districts of the land of Canaan, or today Israel, right? You find the documents in Egypt talking about the rulers of Canaan as slaves. They're sending their letters of recognition. You are my God, you are my king, to Pharaoh, right? And also how they ruled Canaan, witchcraft. We found also, like the archaeologists already found out, the witchcraft, like very similar to voodoo. They were doing voodoo on all the kings, the Egyptians, all the kings of Canaan. So, why are you afraid of them? If you beat up the master, what about the servant? You're not supposed to be afraid of them. So they come and they say, the cities are fortified and big. Fortified and big? Do you know how big were the cities in the land of Canaan at that time? Tiny, small, fortified villages. That was the whole thing. That's what you're afraid of? Somebody is giving us fake news, right? They went to the land of Canaan. They say, oh, they have big fortified cities. Not through modern archaeology, not through the stories 40 years later. Joshua comes in. It doesn't look like he has any problem to take over the country. Okay? And they say there are giants in the country. Giants! How come the giants did not throw away the Egyptians out of it? Logic? We know that life has nothing to do with logic. And most of the times we have the problem that we don't let facts to confuse us. We have a concept we decided already, and facts have nothing to do with reality. That's a very important thing. Remember that, because this is what this parasha is about. So, and then they say the Amalekites, remember Amalekites? Those guys are really mean. The gate of the country, that's where the Amalekites are sitting. Okay? ויעש כלב את העם אל משה. Caleb, says, hush. Has in Hebrew. Probably hush is from Hebrew. Okay? Hush. Don't talk. We will do that. We'll come up the land and we will win them. And we'll inherit the land. We'll be able to conquer it. So the other 10 are saying, no, they are stronger than us. How come? The Canaanites, the biggest Canaanite city was maybe 3,000 people. The big ones, the real big ones. We're talking about a whole nation of how many? 600,000 men from 20 to 50? You just run over them. This is nothing. Where are you coming from? ויוציאו דיבת הארץ אשר תרו אותה לבני ישראל לאמור. And they brought blood libel on the land. And they said, this is a terrible country, ארץ אוכלת יושביה. This land devours its inhabitants. By the way, even today, you see somebody who doesn't like living in Israel, he's using the word Eretz Ochelet Yoshvea. Exactly the same words. The land devours its inhabitants. וכל העם אשר היינו בתוכן שם מדון. All the people. There were only 3 giants. Okay? No, they say, the whole people are huge, big giants. ושם ראינו את הנפילים. We saw the Nephilim, they were the biggest giants. And then remember that verse. ונהי בעינינו כחגבים וכן היינו בעיניהם. This is Numbers chapter 13, verse 33. Never ever forget that sentence. ונהי בעינינו כחגבים. We saw them, and as we saw them, we saw ourselves as grasshoppers, with a little tiny insects. וכן היינו בעיניהם. And so they saw us. We saw ourselves as tiny grasshoppers. The moment we saw ourselves like this, they saw us like this. Remember that. ותישא כל העדה ויתנו את קולם ויבכו העם בלילה ההוא. And that night, the whole nation cried the whole night. The sages are saying, the Midrash is saying, אתם בכיתם בכייה של חינם. You cried for nothing. I'll give you a reason to cry for. So, that was that day, the decree that everybody was there should die in the desert for 40 years. Only the next generation can come into the Holy Land. However, that day, the 9th of Av, that was the day, the date, the first temple was destroyed. That was the date the second temple was destroyed. That was the date that Bar Kokhba and his city fell in his rebellion 65 years after the fall of the second temple. That was that same date. That was exactly the date of the expulsion of Spain. Same date. One time after another. Many, many other dates. But that's enough. Why? You cried for nothing, you'll get a reason to cry. You complained for nothing, you get a reason to complain. Don't worry. No complaints go unanswered. You have a wish for complaint, you'll get a reason to complain. Why is it so hard? Why is it so tough? And everybody cried, Vailonu al Moshe ve'al Aaron, and everybody complained to Moses and Aaron. All the children of Israel. And they say to him, כל העדה, לומתנו בארץ מצרים במדבר זה לומתנו. We wish we died in Egypt. We wish we died in the desert. Right now we're going to have a terrible death by those people. Why is God bringing us over here to this land? To fall by sword. Our women, our children, what did they do to you? And our women, our children will be the spoils, the booties. הלא טוב לנו שוב מצרים. It's better we go back to Egypt. Why? It was so great in Egypt. Remember, in Egypt, everything was really nice. Right? ויאמרו של אחיו ניתנה ראש ונשוב מצרים. And say, let's get ourselves a leader, go back to Egypt. Vayipol Moshe ve'Aaron al pneim, and Moses and Aaron fell on their face, and they were praying. And Moses said, but just before that, and Joshua and Caleb, the only two from the 12 that did not fall into that, they tore their clothes, and they said to all the children of Israel, and they said, this land that we went through is a great land. It's good. Very, very good. I'm reading still Numbers 14, verse 7. Now 8. if אם חפץ בנו השם והביא אותנו לארץ הזאת ונתנה לנו ארץ אשר היא זבת חלב ודבש. אך בהשם אל תמרודו. If God wants to give us this land, this is the land of milk and honey. Don't rebel against God. And those people, those giants, they're dying anyway. It's the last of their era. It's over with. Can't you see that? What was the response of the nation? ויאמרו כל העדה לרגום אותם באבנים. The whole nation wanted to stone them. Suddenly the glory of God is shown on the tent of the covenant. Everybody can see it. כל בני ישראל. ויאמר השם אל משה. Okay, we can stop over here and ask again the question. What happened? What was the whole story of that? And the reason we can find that in a very short words of Moses that we read before. What did we say? We read when Moses is saying, is that land fat or lean? When he tells them the instructions. Is there hayesh ba'etz im ain? Is there a tree or none? What is in this? And the Zohar is saying very simply. What tree should have been said? Are there trees in that land? But you know what? A century ago, more than a century ago, Jews started to go back to the promised land. The land was desolated. You see the pictures, wherever it looked like a big desolated desert, swamps and desert. You read the reports of anyone who visited that land, deserts, wherever you went to. Deserts. So what? Those people, the first comers, they came that wave. It came in the late 1800s and beginning of the 1900s. What did they do? They planted trees. Today, you know, the numbers are showing, Israel is the only country that ended the 20th century with more trees than it had in the beginning of the 20th century. Not just more trees, you can see those trees from a satellite pictures. You see the big patches of green all over the country. Wherever is under Jewish control, full of trees. Millions and millions and millions of trees are being planted. Every Jewish boy who had a Jewish education, he knew the JNF donation of few cents every day or every week for planting trees in Israel. So Moses, what's your problem? If there are no trees, plant them. But I tell you a secret. Maybe you didn't know. The whole country was a thick forest. Thick forest you can go through. Because it's a Mediterranean climate. Thick forest. The whole country was thick with trees. So Moses couldn't know there are many trees in the land. But he didn't ask if there are trees. He asked them, I want you to see if there is a tree. What does it mean, a tree? There's only one a tree, the tree of life. We see that in the end of Parashat Beshalach, after the splitting of the Red Sea, the next story is when they go into the desert and they come to springs of bitter water. And everybody is crying. And then it says, Vayoreu Hashem etz, and God shows Moses a tree. What tree? Moses takes the tree and the water becomes sweet. What do we learn from that? The tree of life is that power that through the study of the Torah, through delving into the Torah and the meaning of the Torah, Etz Chaimi lemachzikim ba. A tree of life, it is the Torah to whoever is holding on to it. What does it mean, a tree of life? A tree of life is the ability to turn a lemon into a lemonade, to turn the bitter water into sweet, to turn the troubles into fortune and opportunities. Moses, let's go back. Why it says, Shlah Lekha, send for yourself? Moses wanted to go into the Holy Land. He knew, if they go now into the Holy Land, to the Promised Land, this is the Messiah. Moses, Aaron, Miriam are alive, the nation with them, coming into the land, Messiah is coming. However, was it guaranteed? No. How do we know? Moses has to test them. How does he test them? He says, going into the Holy Land. It's not just a physical problem, which means building a whole new country. That's a challenge. That's a nation of slaves. What do they know? They never knew how to run a business, how to run a farm. They always had somebody to tell them. Remember, they just left Egypt after centuries of slavery. Now, let's say running a little village, running a home. What about running a nation? Do you think it's easy? How many nations on earth still? Today's days, they have independence for centuries already, or for decades already, and everything is just going down the hill. How many failing countries are there on this planet? They have maybe oil, other minerals, fortunes, whatever, water, lands. They cannot have an independent nation. They are dependent on loans. People are starving. Do you think to have an independent nation, this is coming for easy? No. Not everybody can do that. Very few nations can really have financial independence. How many nations do you have on earth? They don't live on borrowed money, which means they're printing money. How much money does the USA owes, the banks or whatever? $20 billion. This is running a nation? How much is owing everyone else? The Chinese. Oh, they got a lot of money from the States, right? Still they owe trillions. What does it mean they owe trillions? If I know that I owe trillions, I don't have money to buy anything, right? But this is the government. So you print. So what do? You put the future of your children and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren in mortgage. That's what you're doing, basically. You're selling everything. That's running a nation? It's not easy to running independence. Everybody wants to be independent. Do you know how to be independent? Do you know what does it mean? What does it take? Oh, I want to be free. I think it was Elie Wiesel, Nobel Prize laureate, who said the Americans, they have the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, but they need the Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast. Because, no, I don't think it's only every human being wants liberty. Are you willing to pay what it means? Are you willing to be there and to take the responsibility? It looks more and more people realize they're not willing to do that. They're willing to live with their parents. How many kids do that today? Stay living with their parents. Why? I don't want to be independent. I don't want to. Oh, of course I'm independent. You're never going to tell me what to do. Okay? But you eat my food, so I'm supposed to tell you what to do. Because as long as you eat my food and you live in my household, I will tell you what to do because you're a parasite. I apologize to all the people that just got hurt right now. But what can I do? Independence is independence. Right? That's what it means. If you depend on somebody, that's not independence. It means there's a work to do. And how do you get independence? That's the secret of what is called the tree of life. This is what this parasha is about. The parasha of Shlah Lekha is not talking about some nation some thousands of years ago in a faraway country, faraway galaxy. No, it's all talking about us, about me, about you. That's what it's all about, nothing else. And it's about what do we do with our lives. And Moses is saying we're coming to that chosen, promised milk and honey land. Are we ready for that? And what was the proof? That we are not. So the sages are asking, why did those people, great people, we said they were the best, la crème de la crème of the whole Israelite nation. They were the government of Moses, the chosen few. They had the merit to step on the grounds, on the soil of the Holy Land, the first ones after centuries. And they failed. 10 of them, of the 12, failed. Why? How could that be? And the answer is for us. Whatever they studied with Moses, whatever they received on Mount Sinai, the tree of life, they did not know how to manifest it. And the moment they did not know, so what are the rest of the nations is to be blamed for? And that's very simple. They came, they told the story, and instead of the whole nation looking at them and saying, fake news, everybody cried the whole night. For what? For nothing. And Joshua and Caleb said, guys, God took us out of Egypt, the biggest, strongest empire in a neighborhood. If we beat the Egyptians with God, and He promised it us, why going against God? What's your problem? Is that a logical announcement, assumption? What is it? And the answer is for us. How many times a day we see a problem? We don't call it a challenge, we see it as a disaster. One of the major things you have to learn when you study spirituality, when you study what does it mean to be independent, that whatever happens to you, you say, Hakol Letova. It's all for the good. But my eyes, my ears, my brain says, it's a terrible disaster. What choice do you have? Jump off the roof? Fight it. Fight it. Mankind is full of stories of people who fought for the truth, who fought for victory. Victory is not achieved by sitting on the balcony and drinking pina colada. I've said it many times. Victory is fighting, bleeding, sweating, and crying. Right? That's what victory is about. Life is about that. Independence. You want to be independent, it means you have to pay taxes. You have to register by yourself. You have to do it by yourself. And you have to take responsibility. What does it mean to take responsibility? No one to blame. Not your parents, not your teachers. You're on your own. What do you mean no one to blame? We got it on Mount Sinai. Do not have another God. The moment I blame someone or something, I appoint them to be my God. Because I announce that they are stronger than me. They are stronger than the Creator Himself. Because it's their fault. They control. They control my life. Is it legal, my rabbi was saying, to say that? Is it nice to say that? Is it nice to live like this? That's impossible. If you want to be independent. If you want to be happy. If you want to be successful. This is the need. You have to tap into the tree of life. And what does it mean, the tree of life? When things are bitter and sour, you turn them into sweet. You get a lemon, you make a lemonade. How do you do that? The tree of life. The Torah is the tree of life. This is how you train yourself to turn everything into sweet. Good business people, I'm talking about the best business people, They never make mistakes. How many times Walt Disney went bankrupt before he started to be successful and famous? So many times. The greatest, most powerful business people in the world. Sam Walton, who created Walmart, the biggest entrepreneurship in the world. How many times did he try and it failed? Till he was 70, I think. Only when he was 70 he started to work. Till then, not so good. But he didn't see and get a no as an answer because he was independent. He didn't give up. That's the secret of real success in making money, in relationships, in health. Only losers give up. But I see a lot of people that don't give up and they fight and they lose. Giving up is losing because, as King Solomon said in Proverbs, Sheva ipol tzadik vekam. The righteous will fall 7 times, he will get up. Why? Because he's righteous. He believes everything for the good. So I'm going to lie down and cry? No way! No way! If that would happen, it was for the good. So the sages are asking, how come those genius, righteous people, the messengers of Moses, the presidents of all the tribes, how come 10 of them failed? So there are all kinds of midrashim what happened. One say, they said, you know, what's wrong with what we have right now? We're traveling with Moses and Aaron. We see the glory of God on the tabernacle, on the tent of covenant every day. When a cloud raises up, we travel. When it lands back, we camp. We learn with Moses and Aaron every day. We eat manna, such an amazing food that is a food of God's. We drink water from the fountain. We have no worries. We're in heaven already. Now coming to a country, which means you have to start what? Running administration, people have problems, farmers have problems about where is the border between my field and his field. What a headache. When are we going to have that heaven we have over here? We don't want it. Another explanation, the Zohar said, you come to a new country, you come right now, you have to build villages, you have to divide the lands, you have to create a whole regulation about the farming and about the holidays and about education and health system and all of this stuff. We know how to march everybody in the desert. Now we need administrators, architects, kind of leaders. We won't say the leaders anymore. Oh, you know what happens when you do that? The agenda comes in. And the moment the agenda comes in, you're not objective anymore. You can't see reality anymore. You already see through the lenses of what? You know what? I don't like that. To like it. Giants everywhere. Oh, they're so powerful, fortified. This and that and this and that. The Creator is giving us new opportunities every day to become creators, to turn a lemon into a lemonade, to assume and to achieve victories. But we all have this little dirty little guy inside saying, no, you can't, you'll never be able to make it. Forget it. Or we have an agenda. You know, if I'm going to assume position, that means I have to be responsible from now on. I don't know if I want it. Deep inside, I don't want it. I want to stay home with my parents. How old are you? I'm 40 already. Yeah, but I love mommy. And she's making such a good food. And I don't have to pay her for that. And she doesn't use my credit card. She has her own. Why do I need to get married and have this headache? And I can watch football as much as I want. I can play basketball with my guys whenever I want. And nobody's going to, take the kids, go shopping. Why do I need a headache? Why do I need the responsibility? Why do I need the responsibility to create my own world? This is what it is about. Those 10, they fell into what we call the agenda. The moment you have an agenda, I don't care what was the reason. Nobody cares. Why? Because that's not my problem. My problem is my own agenda. Your problem is your agenda. And everybody has to remember we have an agenda. And I said it many times, whoever says he's objective is going to be lying about other things too. Whoever tells you is objective. How do we know that? Let's go back. The moment they say those amazing words, we saw ourselves as grasshoppers, and so they saw us, we learned something very important. The way you see yourself, it's the way other people see you. You see yourself as a loser, other people will see you as a loser. You see yourself, but how can I see myself as a loser because I lost so many times? Because you believe you're a loser. It's all over you. So how can I change it? It's all about perception and consciousness. Studying spirituality, studying Kabbalah, studying Torah is about one thing. How do I take control over my emotions and my feelings? Over my thoughts? Because the way I see myself, that's the way other people will see me. The way I see my life, that's how the universe is going to see me. How do we know that? Science is teaching us that. Is training us that to us. How? Because science is telling us the uncertainty principle. What is the uncertainty principle? The moment you measure reality to the most smallest particle, and everything is made of small particles, it is by measuring it, you change it. So, oh my God, so I'm not objective. You're not objective. How? So when you say it's all for the good, it's going to be for the good because you measured it good. If you say everything is bad, it's going to be bad. So when it says like, did God punish us? Is he so vicious giving us the night of Av? No. We created the disasters of the night of Av. By what? By deciding that this is a terrible disaster. Who decided? God decided? We decided. By deciding that God hates me, I just created a reality. By deciding that it's only troubles happening to me, I created a reality. What is the uncertainty principle bringing us to understand? Something that science, one of the major foundations of modern scientific research. What does it say? Double blind. Google it. What does it mean, double blind? Double blind means that when you make the experiment, the scientist is not present. Why? By his presence, he changes the test. He changes the experiment. Also, the technician is not supposed to know what is the control and what is the experiment. Why? By knowing we create. Do you understand what does it mean? You know, by the Jewish law, you have a question if something is kosher. You go to the rabbi. You ask him. You know what? What if he said kosher or he said non-kosher? You're not allowed to go to another rabbi. Why? Because if it said kosher, if you know quantum physics, if you know modern physics, you know everything was in a suspended animation. The moment it said kosher, it became kosher. The moment it said not kosher, it became not kosher. The way you measure it, that's the way you make it. Now you cannot go to another rabbi. Somebody already said it. It's already recorded. It's already engraved. You cannot change it. The moment the whole nation said, this is a disaster, that day, the 9th of Av, became a disaster. Until today, we did not undo that disaster. Although, you know what the sages are saying? This is the day of the birth of the Messiah. Because if we turn that disaster into a blessing, that's a Messiah. If we turn the complaining, the bitterness, and the sourness, that's a Messiah. The moment we assume position, we realize the world has an agenda. You better should have a good agenda. If you have a good agenda and you decide whatever happens is for the good, it will turn to be good. Maybe not in that moment, the next moment. But that's how you have to remember. You are a magical creature. You create reality. You, by deciding what kind of a world is it going to be, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, every time you have an incident with everything, or you just work, and you decide that's going to be good, and you make the effort for it, you make it good. And this is what the Torah is teaching us. Take responsibility. Stay away from people who try to make everything sour, to make everything bitter. Stay away from those people. If you cannot train them, if you cannot recondition them, if you can't give them a role model, and you can't count on them. Not doctors, not any kind of professionals. You know, you go to somebody and say, oh, it's a big problem. You know what? I'll take it to somebody else. I don't need your favors. I know it's a problem. That's why I came to you. I came for the solution, not for the problem. Right? So we know a lot of people, they have a problem for every solution. You bring a solution, no, it's a big problem. What if that? What if that? What if that? We don't need that. But we need to be the people that create, that we have to assume position. Because if I see myself as a winner, the world will see me as a winner. This is the spiritual work. This is learning Kabbalah. This is what the Zohar is teaching us. So, hopefully we'll learn from that how to get always the good out of everything. And by this, it's not going to be in an instant. It's going to be an ongoing situation. But finally, we're going to see step by step how everything becomes a winning, a victory. And that's what life is about. Nothing else. Thank you very much.